What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Roxora, and today we are doing another Commander deck where I take a look at a list, talk about the commander, the individual card choices, as well as the strategy overall, and I'll give it a rating out of 10 at the end. And yeah, we're talking about a cEDH deck that's been doing really well in tournaments. It's been a little bit since we talked about the cEDH metagame. There's been some developments. There's always some shifts here and there. But also this is a friends deck that I think we share a lot of, I guess, like preferences in terms of strategies. And this is an archetype that I think people don't really associate with the cEDH format, but I think they should, as this is, again, becoming a very popular strategy, a very powerful strategy in the meta. And it's definitely emblematic of like how this archetype or this deck should be played going forward, and which we'll talk about and everything. But yeah, very powerful. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Before we do, remember to like, comment, subscribe. It really does kind of let me know what kind of content people are engaging with. The Slay the Spire video, the Slay the Spire 2 video that I did is doing good, so we're definitely going to do more of that stuff. If that's something you're interested in, make sure to hit that follow button or whatever, and watch out for that stuff incoming, because definitely doing more of that. Love that game. But we're here to talk about this commander deck. Speaking of, if you have a submission that you want me to look at, make sure to do so. You can just put in the comments or also in the Discord, as long as it's in a decent format like Moxfield or Goldfish, or I don't know, Archive, right? That's a website, right? Any kind of easy format to look at, I'm happy to look at. All right, let's talk about Rawl. All right, so this is not a new card from the I guess the latest set, being the Ninja Turtle set. This is a card all the way from Modern Horizons 3, but this is Rawl Monsoon Mage. So this is 1 red for 1/3 legendary creatures, human wizards. Instants and sorceries you cast cost 1 less to cast. So if you are unfamiliar with Goblin Electromancer, this is just a Goblin Electromancer with some extra text. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell during your turn, you flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Rawl Monsoon Mage deals 1 damage to you. Ouch. But if you win the flip, you may exile Rawl. If you do, return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. And this is a rare occasion where we have a backside, which is Rawl Leyline Prodigy. It is a blue and red identity Planeswalker, starting with 2 loyalty, but it enters with an additional loyalty counter on him for each instant sorcery spell you cast this turn. And it has 3 abilities. The +1 is basically another Goblin Electromancer effect. The -2 is a kind of shock effect, or forked bolt, and draw a card if you have a blue permanent other than Rawl. All of the Modern Horizons cards like had some kind of extra effect if you had another colored permanent. And then the -8 is really what we're looking at here, which is exile the top 8 cards of your deck. You may cast instants and sorcery spells from among them this turn without paying their mana cost. So obviously you can see here is very much a Izzet spellslinger card, definitely designed to push that kind of strategy. And yeah, very interesting when it came out. Like, didn't really do anything right away, but very powerful in the modern format, that kind of Ruby Storm deck in the modern format. And that is kind of exactly what we have here. It's more Izzet than Ruby, because we have some good blue cards. We got good mana here. And yeah, we're going to talk about this list. So this is by Blake Geary, who is a friend of some people in Orlando. I've been out on some tournaments. Don't really keep in touch with them too much, but yeah, they've been doing really well in tournaments. You can see the past 2 tournaments are first places from Blake. I'm pretty sure there's some other ones. Yeah, there's the SCG Con Hartford. You can see all written here. Josh also from Punt Win Repeats. Also picking up this deck, so you can see already that, like. And also we can look at the metagame share. Where's the metagame share? So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th top deck on EDH top 16. And that's pretty good. Right? That is quite impressive for an Izzet deck. Again, a lot of people in the cEDH format or in kind of in the space look down on Izzet decks, not because the color is particularly bad, because there's just not a ton of really powerful decks, and there's also not a lot of I guess variety in what an Izzet deck can do. You look at most of the Izzet decks. This one, the ones that I play, Vadric and Stella, and then also like Kark and some of the other decks, they all kind of do the same thing. There's some kind of instant and sorcery based deck that all kind of do the same thing, or just kind of try to just cast a bunch of spells, do whatever, and chain them together in some way and win the game. And that's, to be clear, that is what this deck is doing, but it just does it really well. Anytime I'm like complaining about Stella Lee, pretty much all these people are telling me to switch over to Raw. And again, the data shows, so I'm not even disputing that. To clarify, I'm not doing that. Staying with my gal. But we're going to take a look at this deck and just kind of talk about some of the card choices. So, and also talk about why it is being so successful. And you'll kind of see as we talk about some of the pieces here. So let's talk about some key pieces. So obviously, Tavern Scoundrel is a very powerful card if you are not familiar with it. Very popular in the Kark decks, and it kind of does the exact same thing. Whenever you win a coin flip, you create 2 treasure tokens. That's kind of what you care about here. And that's because Rull itself is flipping coins constantly. Right? So notably, you obviously don't want to lose the flip, but if you win the flip, the ability to exile Rull and have him come back as a planeswalker is optional. You can just keep Rull as the Monsoon Mage and just keep him around, casting your spells, flipping, winning the coin flip, hopefully. Again, you can lose and you lose, but as long as you win a couple and you're generating some treasures, this card provides a ton of value. And you can just keep Rull around as the Goblin Electromancer, discounting your spells, flipping a coin, and making you treasures with Tavern Scoundrel. That's actually what you end up doing with Rull most of the time. Usually you want to be able to, from what I've seen, again, I have not played the deck, but I kind of know that like really what you want to do is you want to make it so that Rull enters with exactly 8 loyalty. You can then like immediately ultimate it, send it back to the command zone, cast a bunch of spells, and then recast it back as Rull Monsoon Mage, and you can kind of just loop that. Again, not infinitely, but it provides you with enough value most of the time. So usually, like you do that, you do it one more time, and then you either just like leave Rull in exile, or you actually send it to the graveyard where you can get it back with Breach or something like that. So, yeah, just Tavern Scoundrel is a, kind of like with any of these, right, Kark and Rull, both doing coin flip. So a 2 mana, card that can potentially make you, who knows how many treasures over the course of the game is crazy. But then besides that, we have Burgi, Ashling, and Stormkill Artist. So again, we see this a lot in Storm decks. Just any ways to kind of double up on mana production. All right, so Rull providing a ton of mana, and cost reduction, but Burgi and these cards kind of do the same thing. Obviously, Stormkill is the best because of Magecraft and making treasures as opposed to just red mana. Ashling also provides some extra utility when like you can discard cards and kind of do all of that. I think it's you discard and draw every time. So this also provides some like a really good filtering. Right, obviously one of the big problems with the deck with decks that are trying to storm off is kind of fizzling out and drawing too many lands. But as you can see, this deck has 18 lands, 5 MDFCs. And again, that's because Rull and all these cards are providing the mana. But the big card here that I wanted to point out here is a Treasonous Ogre. You land this card, and kind of again, like with Godor, with any of these other cards, you land this card. Was it Atali, right? Any of these decks, Treasonous Ogres are just so powerful. You land it with Rull, and you as long as you have some good stuff going on, you should probably win the game. Um, yeah, we have let's see, a bunch of the usual suspects. Wanted to shout out Lock and Load. This is a card that I had messed around with in Vadric, never quite like really made it work, but it's very good here, and it's actually really interesting to see the plot on this and a lot of the cards. So there's a couple of plot cards here. There's that one, there's Highway Robbery, and I think there's one more that I took a peek at. I might be wrong. That might have been the only one. Um, yeah, I think those are the only two. But no, yeah, yeah. So it's just those main answers is from the other set that doesn't have the plot in it. But yeah, the both of these providing basically to kind of delayed get a free spell. So like you can plot the Highway Robbery on turn one or turn two, and then cast your Rawl, immediately cast your Highway Robbery, and just kind of go off from there. Also very good again with the kind of Stormkiln cards. Right, again, usually when you play, you're playing Bergie or Stormkiln or these kinds of things, you're usually tapping out. You're usually tapping very low, and so you don't always have the spell to cast afterwards to kind of kick you off into high gear. So the fact that you can just like plot this next turn, cast one of your mana producers, and just immediately go off with this plotted card is super, super cool. Again, not necessary. You can just kind of hold it and do whatever. But the fact that you have these options and we have these kind of small niche utility is really, really good. Yeah, a ton of the wheel effects, windfall. I want to shout out Will of the Jeskai as well. Also a wheel, but also a second Past in Flames. We have Past in Flames here. Where did it go? Am I blind? I sure am blind. Where is my passive? I sure am blind. It was right next to it. I don't know what I'm doing. Uh, yeah. So like the fact that this is both of those effects, it's good when you kind of don't have a lot of resources and you kind of just need to discard your hand, draw five. But it's also just good when you have a stocked graveyard and you just get to go up on a bunch of cards. Embrace the unknown. Speaking of, like, we were talking about fizzling out earlier. Again, if you ever draw extra lands, this is just a great effect to kind of have access to. The retrace, right? Just getting to cycle all your lands. Um, yeah. Inspire Tinkering, love that card. Again, big fan of that in Vadric. Let's see. There is Pinnacle Monk in here. I don't believe that this is like really a important card in terms of the creature side. There is a line, I believe, where you can uh like snap and generate mana, and you can kind of maybe do something there, but generally speaking, I don't really think that there's really any kind of need to try to figure out those lines. It's just kind of like mostly a land. Once in a blue moon, like maybe 1 in 1,000 games you cast this, but yeah, just not really sure that's doing that. Same thing with Seagate. I imagine that you're not producing that much blue mana. You're mostly making red mana, as you can see, unless you have a bunch of treasures. But again, the fact that both of these are just kind of free is super nice. And then sometimes you just need to cast spells or whatever and get going. What else did I want to bring up here? I guess just talking about, so the way that this deck works, right, is you see a lot of twos. Right, you see a lot of 1 and X, so Impulse, Recoup, like all these cards, and same thing for the rituals and stuff. Right, that's kind of the way that you're building this deck, is you just take all your 2 mana cards, you make them 1 mana, and all of a sudden they're just super efficient. Right, so all of these, like Witch's Mark or Reckless Impulse cards are 1 mana to draw 2. And then you have a bunch of these rituals that are 1 mana to make 3 mana. And then you also have like things like Seething Song and things like that. So that's kind of how your like main, like, again, combo, not really a combo, but like the strategy works. Right, turning a card like Demand Answers into a very similar effect. So all of these cards you look at, the key kind of thing to note is that, again, you turn all these 1 mana cards into 2 mana cards. Yeah. Quiet Speculation here is mostly just to dump the Pass in Flames, but you can also put in Strike It Rich, as well as Recoup, and there was another one, Lava Dart. So you kind of don't really care what the other two cards are between those other three, but the main one is you just want to be able to bin your Pass in Flames. It's essentially just an Entomb, right, for that, which is exactly what you want. And yeah, we'll talk about bonus round in a moment. Speaking of Entomb, Intuition, right, does that same thing. Intuition and Pass in Flames are like best friends. Yeah, nothing too crazy in here. Born Upon a Wind, but I wanted to talk about, I wanted to quickly mention Vexing Bauble, because most people would look at Vexing Bubble and go, hey, what are you doing with that? You're trying to storm off. Like, that's not great. If you kind of, again, look back at these cards, not a ton of them are free. They all cost mana. It's just that they all make mana. Right? Rite of Flame and all these things. These are cards that they don't cost 0. Yes, of course, you have things like Gitaxian Probe and you have like Pact and things like that. But generally, and again, you also have your rocks and things like that. But generally speaking, if you're looking at the core cards of the deck, they all cost mana. So getting to just like jam a Vexing Bauble, turn off everybody's Force of Wills, turn off everybody's Pact Negations, and just allow you to go off is very, very, very strong. Yeah. So wanted to mention that. Obviously we have the standard like breach combo. Obviously we have Rhystic and Mystic here. Reiterate is how you kind of do the combo with Seething Song. You make infinite mana, right? That's because you need a mana producer like Burgi or Storm Kiln, and then you have infinite mana. Again, very, very similar combo that we did in Vadric Astral Archmage. Can do the same thing with Jessica's Will. Don't really need to explain Jessica's Will. Already these other cards. Yeah, so let's talk, I guess, really quickly about how we're winning, and then I want to talk about like what makes this deck so good in the meta right now. So pretty much just winning with Grape Shot or the standard breach combo, and the brain freeze stuff is here. Mind's Desire is another kind of way that helps you find all those pieces. But yeah, generally speaking, it's a manual. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is a manual storm deck that is winning with Grape Shot and Mind's Desire. I think you can also do the thing with Ashling, right, where you bounce it and you kind of reset its Magecraft ability. There could be some things you do there, but yeah, generally speaking, you are just casting Grape Shot and killing people that way, which is not that hard, right? Again, it's again, if you do the reiterate thing, that's also just infinite storm. So again, as long as you have some way of doing that kind of thing, you should be a-okay. What else? I think that's all I want to talk about in terms of card choices. Not too much going on in the lands here. Eyelid, Thundering Falls, like Surveillance that we're kind of used to. Yeah. So yeah, what makes this deck so good? Well, if you think about it, this deck, I guess, sorry, let's first talk about what's not here. You'll notice something missing from the instance. Force of Will. There is no Force of Will in this deck, and some of you might be going, why would you want to do that? That's so bad. Like, why would you not play Force of Will? Again, I've talked with Blake specifically at some tournaments, and especially at the SCG events. They just trim on interaction and say, screw it. That's kind of a problem that some people have gotten into, where they kind of are over-reliant on the Mystic and Rhystic stuff, or just card advantage in general, and just kind of trying to interact almost too much, where just kind of getting into those mid-range fights and just kind of not caring about that, and not really trying to fight with people, and just this deck's trying to win first. Like, this deck is just trying to go before people are prepared, or just kind of sit back and let the cards fall where they may. If someone lands a silence and has the win in hand, I think people that play this kind of deck are willing to accept those kinds of again, I want to use the term failings, but just like that, that's how the cookie crumbles. Um, so yeah. Um, Yeah, so there's like a couple of interaction pieces. Like there is Pact, Fluster, and like Mental Misstep and some Swan Songs and stuff. But generally speaking, this is like only pieces that are really, really good when you are going off and not necessarily the best reactive cards. So like again, Pact and Negation is not really an interactive piece, right? It's more of a defensive piece. It's the card that you play when you are feeling that you are guaranteed to win. So that you never have to pay the 5 mana on the upkeep. You just have a free counter spell to help you push for the win. Offer you can't refuse is often actually just a ritual. You often are countering your own spell. You still have things like Swan and Mental Misstep, right? Again, but like Mental Misstep also can be used as a ritual if you have some of the mana producers, and again, or it can just be used as a protection piece. But yeah, besides that, like Red Blast and Pyroblast, again, they're there to kind of, I guess you can get rid of like Mystics and Ristics, or again, just kind of answering any spells against you. Flusterstorm exists mostly to prevent other Flusterstorms from blowing you out. Um, so yeah, you're running pieces not to stop other people. You're running these pieces to protect your win. Obviously, still running Fierce and SWAT because those cards are just crazy. Tipple's Trickery also very similar to kind of like offer where you can use it as an interaction piece, but also you can just use it to if someone is countering your piece, you counter your own spell. You exile it and then you get uh, a new card, right, which presumably helps you keep pushing. Um, yeah, so it's really really interesting to see a deck that's kind of attacking on a completely different angle. And now you might be asking the question, well, how does this deck function into this, like someone lands a Ristic? It actually functions quite well, because the big problem is that once you kind of start going, you need more than one piece. Again, my strategy when playing this deck is just to nuke Raw as soon as possible and kind of slow them down before they even have a chance to really do anything. Because once they start going, it's really really difficult to stop them with just one piece of interaction. There's no like one card that you can counter that's going to accomplish this, because again, if you look at kind of what the deck's doing, it's playing a bunch of these impulse effects, it's playing a bunch of these rituals. There's no one card that is the key piece. It's kind of the combination, it's the critical mass of things that really gets you going. So again, when you get into things like bonus round, right, that's why I was going to mention bonus round, is that this kind of makes it even crazier. You start off with this, you start casting a bunch of spells, you're getting extra resources with your impulses or with your rituals. And yeah, their counter spell is doubled in the sense that they get 2 spells, but yeah, you usually will have gotten enough cards um at that point that there's kind of nothing you can really do. Speaking of kind of like, again, the mentality of the deck, that's what I was going to kind of talk about. Born Upon a Wind. So if you notice, there was a keyword on Rawl where it talks, our key clause where Rawl's flip ability only works during your turn. So that's another kind of reason why this deck is. And I use the term limited or constrained, but in reality, these constraints kind of build the creativity. It builds the mindset where it's very difficult for you to win on somebody else's turn or to kind of start going off. And so usually you just kind of don't care. I assume Born Upon a Win is either like it's there maybe in case you have to do it and you try to win without flipping Rawl. Or again, there's some times where I guess people have a protection card like the One Ring, or what's the other one? The Angel's Grace, right? So if they have those cards, you might need a way to Born Upon a Wind and win in their upkeep, so that they don't get a chance to kind of do anything. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else. I guess also you can use it during your turn as well, right? So if someone tries to interact with you, someone places silence, and then you can born upon a wind over top of that. So even though it says during your turn, you're still able to kind of play at instant speed over top of a silence. So again, the born upon a wind is kind of a I don't want to say a misnomer, but again, the big mentality with this deck is cast roll, win on that turn, or win as soon as possible, and kind of no holds bars, go burr type of strategy. Pretty much every turn that raw is in play, you're trying to win, and if raw's not in play, you just kind of don't care what's going on. Which is again, it's very similar to how Stella Lee and kind of most of the decks I feel are still played, but again, the speed at which Raw can really start doing things is really the big thing here. Um, yeah, so that I think is really like what sells this deck for people is really cheap commander. You get to use like Mox Amber and things like that. You get to use all of the again like the fierces and the swaths and the flares and things like that. As far as I guess it's not a blue creature. You can only use the red flare. You can't use the blue flare. Unfortunately, the other side is not a creature, but you get to use all of those cards that we know are powerful in Commander, and then you also just get a really powerful engine that's discounting your spells and can enable you to go off super super fast. As you see, like just you're playing all the wheels, or right, most of the wheels. Is this all the wheels? I guess you're not. No, you're playing Windfall. Yeah, you're playing all the wheels except Time Twister. Yeah, no Time Twister here. Again, because you're a graveyard deck. But again, besides Time Twister, you're playing all the kind of draw as many of the draw seven effects as you can. And that again really speaks to how aggressive this deck is. You usually don't see that in mid range piles, obviously. Um, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this list. It's again doing really well. Yeah, very 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 popular. And if you look at the conversion rate, also very good. So yeah, I think again just interesting to see. Like a lot of people when they talk about cEDH, people think it's just mid range hell right now, and there are absolutely people going under. And kind of saying, screw Ristic, I'm gonna try to win anyways. I've absolutely seen this deck win through a Ristic. Um, Two might be kind of tough, but yeah, definitely have seen this deck do some crazy stuff. So wanted to talk about it. It's pretty cheap. Again, 5,000 for a cEDH deck. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but it actually is not that much money. Most casual EDH decks I feel like are in the 2,000 3,000 range. Um, yeah, feels weird to say that's not a lot. Like again, my CDS decks are quite a bit of money, but like in the grander scheme of things, we can kind of look at some of the other ones. I'm actually curious now. Let's see, just like what an example of this. I'm sure that this is astronomical. I estimate like, oh wait, why is this? This is not in Moxfield. Hold up. Let me go to Let me go to just find any um or can I look up blue fart? Will I? I've never actually done this. Oh, yeah, there is. So yeah, I know this dude. Okay, cool. I have proven my point. I have proven my point about how affordable Rawl is in comparison to other decks. Anyways, I was not expecting that. Oh my god, that's crazy. Anyways, in summary, 10 out of 10 deck, very very up and coming. Or like to say it's up and coming is weird because again, it's kind of known, but I think it's still in some ways like underrated. Like I still just like don't see people picking it up. It is a hard deck to pilot. That's kind of one of the things. Is again, Blake's very good. Josh, as we know, is very good. So yeah, definitely a not the easiest deck to just kind of pick up and play, but I do still think it is like underplayed, underrepresented, whatever word you want to use. So yeah. Again, props to Blake for doing so hot with the deck. They're doing very well. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this interesting deck tech. Again, it's like kind of don't really know what to do with cEDH decks because again, there's not a lot of, I don't want to say there's a lot of creativity, but there's not like kind of some interesting stuff. It's usually pretty streamlined, as again cEDH decks are, and that's the point. So, but still is cool to talk about. So, again, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.